this gentleman, and I believe his name is Scott, he brought forth several arguments that I think are actually starting to become more prevalent within the Hebrew roots and Messianic movement. So this isn't actually to pick on Scott, but more to just look at some of the things that he said. And actually, after I pulled one of these clips, I got into a discussion with somebody on Facebook, and they actually said the exact same thing that this gentleman Scott says in his video. And so I want to take a look at it. And this isn't even the topic of the video that I watched. He just kind of prefaced his whole video with this specific claim. And let's take a listen.
Let me just say real quick that here at Beit Tefillah, we don't use the term or the title of Christ for our Messiah, as Christ may mean anointed in Greek, but all the Greek or pagan gods were anointed, or they all were Christs. There were Christs 1,000 years before the Messiah was born, and since we are to be set apart, we also keep our Messiah set apart, and thereby we do not call him a Christ or identify him as such.
Okay, so I'm wondering if his claim here is that other, kings in the ancient world were anointed to become kings. I'm wondering if, and some ancient kings were seen as gods, but he doesn't substantiate. He doesn't give reference to what he's talking about. But this is becoming more of a prevalent kind of claim within the Hebrew roots and Messianic movement, which is that that the different terms. It's not just Christ. And for those who don't know, the title Christ comes from the Greek word Christos, which means anointed, or Messiah is how we'd say that in English. What's interesting, and I put this in, I put a verse in the show notes, and I could bring up plenty others, but Yeshua refers to, he says, if you follow the Christ, right? So, yeah. What are your thoughts on this, Rob?
Well, there's a lot that can be said here. One thing to keep in mind is, first of all, this reminds me of, it might not be as extreme, but it's of the same genre of argument as, bunnies and eggs goes back to Nimrod. It reminds me of that kind of thing. Because he's not demonstrating. Here's what I heard. We don't use Christ to talk about Yeshua, even though the apostolic writings use it. So we're anti-Greek apostolic writings. First off, but why? Because 1,000 years before that, the Greek gods were also called anointed, were also called Christs, and it would be pagan to take this from Greek mythology and apply it. So his argument, if let's just assume for a minute it's a valid argument. Let's say, okay, it's a valid argument. If we had our imaginary time travel machine, our TARDIS or whatever, from Doctor Who, and we go back to the 1st century, we could take this argument against the Apostle Paul. We could say, Paul, you're writing these letters and you're using this word Christos, and it's pagan. You need to knock it off. Now, he might counter this person, or let's just say, well, it was originally written in Aramaic, or it was originally written in Hebrew. Well, the thing is, if you look at the Evan Bohan, the Shem Tov Hebrew Matthew, or you look at even the Peshitta, they have the word Christos in there, just transliterated into those terms. So the criticism, even if we take it as a valid criticism, it doesn't fit with the historical picture. But not only that, he's not substantiating. It's not a valid argument. He hasn't substantiated the fact that there are any Greek gods called Christos, for one. That it's 1,000 years before. What Greek text do we have from 1,000 BC? Right? I mean, there's so many problems. This is why it reminds me of the just throw it at the wall because it sounds good on the surface, and people who aren't taught to think critically are going to probably swallow it up and then feel guilty, or they're going to judge somebody. Oh, he just said Jesus Christ. instead of Yeshua, Messiah. Oh no. I now all of a sudden my mind's in turmoil because this guy is reading scripture and he says Christ, that's problematic. Oh, and so this reminded me of a book that's an excellent book. This is, and I just thought of it just now. This is, what year is this? This Oxford, 2012 Oxford. It's called Christ Among the Messiahs. I'll hold it up there. Matthew Novenson, Christ Among the Messiahs. I've seen him speak a couple times at SBL. Excellent scholar. I've got a couple of his books, I think, or at least articles besides this one. The subtitle is Christ Language in Paul and Messiah Language in Ancient Judaism. So he gets into this very issue of what did the word Christos mean in first century Jewish world. And, Caleb, since at Torah Resource, we teach the three main biblical languages. We teach Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek because we understand and appreciate the facts that are on the ground, that Greek was probably the major Jewish language in the Second Temple period. And of course Aramaic and Hebrew are also used, but Greek, that we have more Greek Jewish literature than any other literature that is written by Jews in the Second Temple period.
Did you enjoy that clip? If you did, you should like it and share it. That way other people can see it. Also, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking this round thing right there. Just do it. Click that. Or you can also catch the full episode of that clip by clicking that right there.